Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes, Sal Vulcano, comedian, member of the Impractical Jokers team, will join us. I'm Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. She's a bit of an impractical joker herself. Patrice.
You know what? Really? I actually hate impractical jokes.
Oh, really?
But I like the show. The show is fun.
Who keeps setting these traps for me around the studio? Oh, it's Chris Plant. I'm sure it's
It
Chris
could be
Plant.
Julie, too.
That's all coming up. But first, let's remind you, Tim Walz, this is how he, as a member of Congress, identified his military record.
As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired Command Sergeant Major.
Retired Command Sergeant Major. Of course, that's not true. He was knocked down a rank when he retired because he didn't fulfill the obligations to be a Command Sergeant Major. He actually retired as a Master Sergeant, and he knows that. Everyone in the military knows exactly what level they retire at,
yes,
because it's a big part of your pension and your various benefits. He knew that. He also made a case at a town hall in Minnesota that he would infringe on people's Second Amendment rights, and one of the ways he made that case was to say this.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Weapons in war that I carried in war means something. It certainly suggests something, if not outright states something that, of course, doesn't appear to be true. Well, joining us right now is the Republican candidate for Senate in Virginia and a man who has a stellar military record himself, retiring from the United States Navy, the explosive ordnance detail specialist assigned with many special forces units, and a retired Captain Hung Kao. Mr. Kao, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, and happy Friday to you, Patrice. I know I can see the smile on Larry's face every time you say that.
It's true. Hey, Hung Kao, listen, I know you want this campaign to be about Tim Kaine and about who Tim Kaine is and about how Virginians are struggling under his leadership and how he's basically an invisible man in the Senate. AWOL, if I can use that term in this context. But, I remember last time we spoke, there were hit pieces done on you questioning your service, questioning whether you had really served at the level that you claim in your website. And, of course, no one at all that you served with suggests that you did not serve in the capacity that you have detailed. So I'd love for you to reflect on how Tim Walz, people are bending over backwards to try to make excuses for Tim Walz, where it appears he's outright misrepresented the level of service, whether he was in combat or not and went to war or not, and what rank he retired at. And these are big deals for people in the military, aren't they?
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's the hypocrisy of the left-wing media, right? And because, remember, I said, hey, Tim Kaine and I received the same government paycheck for 30 years. I've got scars. He's got millions of dollars. So they're like, hey, show us your scars. Where, in fact, what they wanted me to do is list every single time I was outside the wire, how many, and those times where I received fire. Well, what do you want me to send you a whole phone book?
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, and they made the outrageous claim that because you don't have a Purple Heart, you couldn't possibly have scars, which is probably the most asinine thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's millions of American veterans that are 100% disabled like me who don't have a Purple Heart. So now you're saying that we're all lying, but yet this guy is flat out lying about his service in being in combat and his rank. It's insane.
What are you hearing from your constituents about this issue? I've got to believe that, with Virginia, with so many military educational institutions and outlets where we're training our military in Virginia, that I can't imagine your potential constituents would be pleased with how you're being characterized, how your service is being characterized, and just this issue, even with the vice presidential nominee on the Democratic ticket. What are you hearing from them?
Well, there's 703,000 military veterans in Virginia that are residents of Virginia. And then not on top of that, we have the largest naval base in the world in Hampton Roads. And yeah, they're all mad because it's like, wait, hold on. You're going to fact check this guy who, fact check me on how much combat I've had. And it's very evident, how many times I've been in combat. But then you for 20 years, you let this guy run around amok saying all sorts of lies. I mean, it's just wrong. It's blatantly wrong, and this is exactly what the left wing is doing.
We're speaking with Hung Kao, running for Senate. And Hung, I know you've had some other dealings with the media. I love this story that you've shared on your social media about a Virginia political blog. They put together a post that says everything you need to know about Virginia's U.S. Senate race, except if it's everything you need to know, they seem to have left something out. What did they leave out?
Well, they only took, I think, 11 of my words that I sent them in a whole paragraph, and they basically left out every single thing, and it's this huge, love piece on Tim Kaine, and it's just a complete hit piece on me. Look, this is the tale of two Tims, right? Two Tims from Minnesota. Both were governors. Both were failed Democrat VP candidates, and both are complete left-wing socialists.
And there you
has there been a debate set yet for you and Tim Kaine?
Yes, we're negotiating right now. My team is working on it, and I can't wait to debate him. I can't wait to call him out on everything he's flip-flopped on, and also failed on. He's failed on the border. I mean, now we're finding out the 54-year-old grandmother from my own county, Marjorie Waldecker, who was killed by an illegal alien. And then down in Chesapeake, this 8-year-old black student was killed by an illegal alien. Her name is Lauren Nicole Leonard. I mean, she was killed. She had a bright, shining future in front of her, and it was taken away by this guy that was brought in as a minor, unaccompanied minor, and he was pulled over 3 times and was let go every single time, even though he didn't have a driver's license, and he was put on the deportation list.
Well, and obviously we're seeing some of the other horror stories coming out from the southern border, including that a foiled assassination attempt against President Trump was made by an illegal alien coming from the southern border, a terrorist with ties to Iran. So obviously, immigration is going to be a big issue. Hung, what else are you seeing when you're talking to people, door knocking in Virginia? Because obviously, this is a purple state, and it's potentially a swing state, and could make the difference with what happens in November. So, what are the other big issues?
The biggest issue is obviously the border, like you said, and the second one is the economy. Americans can't afford to feed their families. They can't afford to put gas in the cars. And they can't afford to buy a home. And this is all because we're so dependent on oil from countries that hate us. When we have oil in our own country, we demonize clean American coal, and we demonize other, methods for us to get oil and gas in our own country.
Hung, I'm just did a quick Google search on Tim Kaine to see what he's been doing and saying recently. And other than an article in the National Catholic Reporter headline, Senator Tim Kaine on the spirituality of walking, cycling, and paddling, and I wish I was joking about that, I don't see much of anything else. It looks like he's trying to use Harry Potter's cloak of invisibility through this campaign and hide as much as possible so that he can just sort of sneak across the finish line. Is that the sense you're getting?
Yes. I mean, I'm addressing crowds of tens of thousands with President Trump, and I'm on my way right now to Bristol with the governor. We're going to meet thousands of voters, and he's running around with a harmonica, playing Fiddler on the Roof, reminding people he's still alive. Look, you're not going to catch me blowing anything around Virginia. I'm going to be around Virginia campaigning for us.
All right, Hung Kao, we're going to leave it there. We're up against it, but thank you for joining us.
Much,
and continue to pound the pavement. All you can do is work as hard as you can, and I know you're used to working hard to achieve what you want to achieve, and we will continue to follow this race as tightly as possible. Let us know as soon as you have an agreed-upon debate.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys, and happy Friday to you.
You too.
Thank you. Friday indeed. 8:15 WMAL Traffic and Weather. Every 10 minutes, first on the fives with Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Well, listen, I wear my politics on my sleeve, Patrice. Mm-hmm. I like to say I let people know where I stand on issues and partisan political issues, and I think it's good to be transparent, especially when you're in the broadcasting business. It's one thing to wear your politics on your sleeve, but imagine wearing your politics across your forehead permanently for the rest of your life. A young woman, she appears to be in her late 20s, has gotten the word Trump in giant blue block letters tattooed across her forehead.
Well, okay, so let's give some backstory here. She's 21 years old, and she is a British influencer and OnlyFans model. So I'm not going to send you to her website or OnlyFans site, but it just gives you some background. She is used to probably getting a lot of attention. Well, I think she's going to get a whole lot more because she's the self-proclaimed Trump girl, Rain Monroe, and she is making her appreciation and love for Donald Trump so well known that she's tattooing. There's a fun video of her getting the tattoo. It's not
super fun.
Fake. Yeah. It is actually real, and you see the impression, the imprinted letters, and then the redness of her forehead underneath. But she wants everyone to know that she is on the MAGA train, and she wants you to get on board too.
I am speechless. First of all, I don't think Rain Monroe is her real name, number one. Number two, she can't even vote in the American election.
Yeah, because she's British.
She's a Brit. Maybe she's looking for an American husband or something. Although, I don't know, if you're an OnlyFans model, maybe, you're not seen as the best wife material. I'm just saying, ladies, you might want to think before you strip. Finally, if you're trying to, impress Donald Trump, don't forget here, listen to this, cut 27. This is Donald Trump. I can't remember the context of this, but he was speaking to a very young Barron Trump, his son at the time. And listen.
I want all A's.
Okay.
Okay, all A's. And when you get older, what are you going to remember? No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. You know what else? No tattoos. I don't ever want to see tattoos on you. Goodbye.
That's so cute. He doesn't like tattoos.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He thinks tattoos are trash. I don't ever want to. So the actual act of getting a face tattoo of all things. What is the deal with getting a tattoo on your face, by the way?
Well, ask
Patrice?
Amber Rose, who, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, she graced the stage of the RNC, where she was a speaker representing kind of the big tent of the MAGA Republican camp right now. And on her forehead, I believe, is the name of a former boyfriend or something like that. Yeah, she dated Kanye West, if you don't know as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a way of really going all in on what you believe in or who you really care about. But this Amber Rose, I don't understand her tattoo. She's a grown woman. This 21-year-old has made a huge mistake. Not unlike a lot of the transitioners who do things to their bodies at young ages without thinking it through.
And it has nothing to do with the politics of it.
No,
although it would have really been bad if she put Kamala on her forehead. Can I just? I don't know why, but I feel compelled now. I feel like it's part of the conversation. Do you have any tattoos, Patrice?
I don't. I don't do them. I don't like them.
Did you ever
personally
consider getting a tattoo?
No, I was not raised to do it either, and it's just not my preference. But I understand people like them. I think that's to each his or her own. I especially wouldn't do, if you're going to get a tattoo, don't put it on a place where you can't hide it. If you need to get a job one day.
That is what I told my children. I told them if you're, because there was a big tattoo craze. Remember with Kat Von D and the whole LA tattoo thing and everything. Yeah. And my kids really wanted to get a tattoo. Ironically, my daughter, who was in the Navy, where it's like a rite of passage to get a tattoo, she was planning on doing it when she turned 18, and she was in the Naval Academy, and then she didn't. She sort of put it off, and now she has no tattoo. I don't think she's going to get one. But my oldest kid, who is not in the military, but in the arts, in theater and performing arts, she has I think 9 tattoos at this point, but they're all concealable. They're all, if you dress. What I always said is, if you're going to get a tattoo, get it in such a way that if you are in a professional setting and you're dressed professionally, no one can see it.
Yeah, so leave the neck, leave the face out of it. Hands, fingers, toes, all of those things. Kneecaps. I mean,
I have a tattoo.
What is it of?
See, now you're not acting surprised to learn that I have a tattoo.
I'm not surprised, Larry. You strike me as somebody who would have it in a rebellious phase of life. Get one, right?
It was the 90s, and and I was in Southern California, and it was very. It's Oh, you know what? We're right up against it.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
Can you at least tell us what it is or where okay, can you tell us where or what if it's FCC compliant?
It is in a place where you would not see it in a professional setting. I follow my own rules.
Okay.
It is on the upper half of my body.
Okay.
And it is an animal.
Is it a zebra?
It is 823.
Making sense of your world.
I don't know where to begin.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Thanks for taking my call.
Making sense of the news. Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:36 on O'Connor and Company. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yeah, it is a Friday. It's nice to get through these storms that are rolling through the area, flash flooding in D.C., but once we get through it, this weekend's going to be gorgeous. Coming up in 30 minutes, by the way, Chris Plant's going to take over. And right now we're joined by Sal Vulcano. I love comedians. I love stand-up. I love comedians who focus on just making you laugh and making you observe the world around you and find the humor in it, instead of constantly lecturing you, by the way, on politics or climate or whatever. No, just make me laugh. Let me escape. We need escape. And that's what Sal Vulcano does. He's going to be here August 25th in Hanover, Maryland, the Hall at Live at the casino, August 25th. Get your tickets. And then next year in Baltimore, February 23rd. Why not sell tickets to Baltimore, February 23rd? We're playing the long game here, Sal Vulcano. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. If I could just start off real quick, I wanted to speak about the presidential election. Now,
you know what? Come on. Killing me.
I would never, Larry, Patrice, I would never do that. I would never do it.
Well, but you know what that is? I mean, listen, we're doing morning talk radio, political talk radio most of the time here in Washington, D.C., so of course it's a dominant conversation. And there is this comedian, since you went there, comedians do feel compelled when they come into this area to spend half their set, letting us know where they stand. No offense, Sal, I don't care who you vote for.
I couldn't agree more. Let me talk about the burnt toast I had this morning.
Is it hard for you to because you do? I mean, I've seen a lot of your clips on YouTube. It's great, and you do seem to try to find humor in the most mundane things. And does it come to you naturally, or do you have to say, okay, there's something's funny about this? What can I do?
A mix of both. I mean, I kind of that's where I'm operating from at all times, which is a pretty good place to operate from. I laugh. I'm a laugher as it is anyway. So, but every once in a while, when you sit down, you're like, all right, what, you kind of mind for it. But honestly, if you just, I think there's something to laugh at all day long. It really is. I'm telling you. I challenge you guys later on when you're on like a break or something. Just look around the office and just find something because it's there. Believe me. I'm sure there's a guy.
We work in a radio studio. Everything is funny here. My God.
Trust me. I'm looking at a really funny sign about this being a work-free drug zone. So that sets it up for you. It's interesting to see how YouTubers are making millions of dollars in these fabulous lifestyles on pulling practical jokes on, unexpected bystanders every day. Yeah, I feel like you and your crew have been doing this for over a decade now. What is it like to be the inspiration?
I think what Patrice is asking is, are you lawyering up? So those sons of.
Yeah, I have counsel with me at all times. They're actually on this call as well. Just always listening and waiting. No, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about that. We filmed the pilot for this show in 2010, 14 years ago. We're approaching 300 episodes. Yeah, season 11 just began a few weeks ago. Now we're on Thursday nights on TBS, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, our show still is a little bit different in the fact that we turn the joke inward on ourselves, and compete against people. The people on our show are more like collateral kind of, damage. Right. But
right.
Yeah, it is wild to see like how, that kind of genre was revitalized, like the hidden camera kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, more the merrier, but we'll do our thing,
But I think this actually says something about you and your guys and the way you approach stand-up. Again, as I've seen a lot of your clips, you've got a big heart. You know, like unlike Sacha Baron Cohen, who I think, yes, is funny at times, but when he does his thing, he makes the innocent person the butt of it. It becomes uncomfortable. Where you guys are the ones who are in the uncomfortable setting. It may be a nuanced difference, but I think it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it does. It changes everything. It changes the landscape of it. I live my life very uncomfortable as it is. that's the type of person I am. Kind of neurotic, kind of anxious, very uncomfortable. So I was like, how can I pay my mortgage with this?
That's some secret sauce you found there. Yeah.
So I wonder what comedians inspire you? I mean, is there one dead or alive? I gotta think of names like John Belushi come to my mind when I think of really great comedians, and not to discredit anybody who's alive today, but man, the comedians of the past, but they were brilliant. Who inspires you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we only get here where we are from there, so it's like, especially people that were trailblazers and everything. You know, I mean, as a kid growing up. You know, I mean, I was like a young kid, like maybe like, you know, 8, 9, 10. Believe it or not, like Eddie Murphy was huge. You mentioned SNL, and I think he was inescapable. And you know, we had the VHS tapes, and I don't know. My parents are pretty strict, but somehow I got away with watching Eddie Murphy when I was little. Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, so I like, he's the first person I was like, oh my God, this is like everything he says is funny. And But I wanted to be like a comic since then. And when I was younger, if you can believe this, I used to love the show The Jeffersons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Sherman
Sherman Hemsley, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I just watched it with my grandparents, and they cracked up, and I cracked up. I used to memorize scenes and perform them like in school and like for my family. And it was just that kind of whole thing of just like, you know, just getting laughs happened at a young age. But I mean, it wasn't just stand-up comedians. It was all any type of comedy. Like, you know, so sitcoms were huge when I was little as well. It was just about understanding that, oh, my God, I can get these laughs, you know.
Saul Vulcano's our guest. You know him as one of the team from Impractical Jokers. He's doing his stand-up in Hanover, Maryland on August 25th. And it's our turn now to be the old farts because we're mentioning Saturday Night Live, we're mentioning sitcoms. Things have changed drastically. I mean, I feel so. I guess I'm not the target audience for SNL anymore. I guess I'm not the target audience for the late night shows. And they really aren't chugging out sitcoms like they used to do. Do you sort of lament that, or is it just, you know, you figure out how to navigate in the new world with social media and various other opportunities, or is there an opening there for some new creation maybe to sort of fill that void?
Yeah, I mean, you have to adapt to kind of stick with everyone because the new normal changes and the way that people are getting eyes on them, and there's no longer it's completely changed. But as someone myself who is as old as SNL, I so miss 3-camera sitcoms and that kind of whole thing we came up with.
Yeah,
you know, I still will go back and watch some of it, you know, if and when I can. But it doesn't exist anymore. I was just having this conversation with someone. It's single camera now, and you know there might be. I bet you there will be. I think things are cyclical like that, and I think there is like a dearth in that category. And I feel like you're right. I think it's primed for something to come back and feel fresh again because it's been gone so long. It'll be new. It'll be new to the younger kids now. They don't go back and they don't have the affinity for those older shows like we do. So. I do feel like it comes back around, and I do miss it for sure.
Totally agree. And listen, the character you've created for yourself and your persona, which is probably exactly who you are when the cameras are off, it's ripe for being the center of a sitcom, I think, like Everybody Loves Raymond or something.
Exactly.
Check out his clips. Check out the special. It's free. It's called Terrified. You can get it on streaming video, and then go see him live. Go see him live August 25th in Hanover. Sal, thanks for joining us.
So
I know
much.
You've got a very busy road schedule. Thanks for carving out some time this morning.
Oh, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Weeknights with Mark Levin, 6 to 9 p.m.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Waltz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone?
Senator J.D. Vance, as running mate of Donald Trump, making a very pointed case, one that he has every right to make, considering he was a Marine during the war and was assigned to Iraq during the war, making a case about Tim Walz, claiming, we shouldn't have these guns that we carried at war. It's an unassailable point that he's making about how Tim Walz has made grandiose claims about his military career. By the way, a fine military career that doesn't require embellishment, but apparently he feels fit to make those embellishments to make a political point and to puff himself up.
And nobody is discrediting his career. Nobody's discrediting his career.
No, we're discrediting the grandiose statements he's made about his career that are untrue.
Exactly. Afterwards.
And J.D. Vance has every right to do it, number one, as his counterpart on the ticket, but also the fact that he did have nobody's questioning. Well, I shouldn't say nobody's questioning his military career, because that's where Brianna Keilar comes in from CNN. Media, who, of course, like to defend Tim Walz and any Democrat for that matter, because their job is not to tell the truth or give analysis, real analysis. It's to protect Democrats at all costs. They have nothing on this because they know the facts are there.
Yes.
So all Brianna Keilar could do was pivot and try to attack J.D. Vance. Listen.
I also think that J.D. Vance, as a messenger on this, may be an imperfect messenger, because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat.
This is the most despicable thing that I've ever seen. Well, I should say most recently seen from the media.
In the past 2 days.
Brianna Keilar should know better. She's married to a Green Beret. Let me just explain to you what a public affairs specialist or public affairs officer is, and I'll use one woman as an example, Megan McClung. A major in the United States Marine Corps, graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. She was a public affairs officer in Iraq. She was escorting 2 journalists from Newsweek in Iraq when her lead vehicle hit a roadside bomb. She was killed, the first woman killed in combat in Iraq, the first female graduate of the Naval Academy ever killed in combat. And her job was to escort journalists like Brianna Keilar and her CNN colleagues around that war zone. And Brianna Keilar just spit on her grave over at Arlington. And it's despicable. And it's been 24 hours now almost. And there's been nothing from CNN to correct the record on this.
Oh, no, there's not going to be anything. Listen. Absolutely, Tim Walz deserves his the way he's inflated his career and his credentials deserves scrutiny. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, you won't get it from Brianna Keilar.
J.D. Vance should not be his service should not be diminished by Brianna or anyone else just because he's actually doing the vetting that nobody did in the Harris campaign when bringing Tim Walz on.
Well said, ma'am. 8:52. That's a wrap, Patrice. Good to see you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Larry.
And here's your buddy from TV, Chris Plant.
Buddy, TV buddy, radio buddy. I just want to know more about the tattoos. What's this? The lady, she's not even American, a British lady. She got a
Trump
tattoo of Trump on her forehead. On her forehead.
Just the word Trump, not even an image with the hair. No.
Just the word. Well, maybe she's got room on her cheeks. She could still put Trump's face on there. Crazy stuff. We got a lot of stories today about Kamala. Kamala, she took a couple of questions from the press. Did they ask about her favorite ice cream? Because I know they like to talk about things like that. And boy,